Headphones. Okay, I'm back. You heard me say Brad at 8:15? Okay. Talk about this really weird judge's story.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Open enrollment for healthcare.gov is here. If you're uninsured or have a job that doesn't offer insurance, check out healthcare.gov. Due to a new law, prices are lower and more people qualify. Now, 4 out of 5 customers pay just $10 a month or less with financial help. It's easier than ever to find the right plan for you, and millions of Americans, just like you, have already enrolled. New law, lower prices, more people qualify. Sign up at healthcare.gov by December 15th.
Ohio has over 920,000 diabetics. If you are a diabetic, take a step in the right direction by having your feet checked routinely by a podiatric physician, the most qualified doctors to care for your feet. Adding a podiatrist to your healthcare team can help you better manage the effects of diabetes on your feet. Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association podiatric physicians are located throughout the state. For more information or to find a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association near you, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Hello, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your football Friday. Look for mostly cloudy skies, a cooler day with a high near 57, the overnight low of 31 degrees under mostly cloudy skies, a mostly cloudy Saturday in store with temperatures in the low 40s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
News, information, conversation, controversy, and fun. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
42 degrees, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 41 degrees at my home studios here in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 41 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. It's starting out with a really clear sky morning. Bit of sun out there already. Clouds will move in later in the day, closer to evening. Daytime high today around 58. Going to be breezy. Could see gusts up to 28 miles an hour. Then tomorrow morning, we start off with some rain and, yes, snow showers, or at least snow flakes under mostly cloudy skies during the day tomorrow. 58 for that. We hit 70 yesterday. 70 yesterday. 58 today. 42 tomorrow and on Sunday. So it's going to be a pretty cool weekend. 8:10 here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Got some entertainment news. We've got the Friday funnies, including some grocery shopping comedy that we'll get to, and stand-up comedy coming up a little bit later on. And also, I don't know if it's a comedy story or a serious story. The judge is facing judicial review. A story I came across last night having to do with a judge in West Virginia who pulled the "do you know who I am" kind of thing. And Brad McElhenney is going to join us to talk about that. Came across a list of things this morning, things that only an old person would say. And I looked over this list of top 10 things, and I'm an old person. These are a lot of things I say. Things only an old person would say. Number 10. No thanks, I can't have caffeine this late in the day. I won't fall asleep. Yep, I say that exactly. Number 9, things old people tend to say. That's a nice box. Let's keep it. And we have so many boxes here. Well, we do. Now, let me be clear. It's not just me. Little Teddy says the same thing. Granddad, that's a great box. Let's keep it. Because he wants to make a fort out of it or something. So that's not just old people. Sometimes it's young people as well. I don't do this. Things that old people say. You strap something to the top of your car and then you go, yep, that's not going anywhere. No, I don't do that. I don't strap things to the top of my car. You're at Home Depot and say something like, oh, yeah, that's quality lumber. I don't. But that, of course, both of those require actual manual labor kind of stuff, and as you all know, I don't. Things only old people say, alcohol makes me sleepy. I don't drink too much anymore, but I said that when I was a much younger man. Alcohol makes me sleepy. Does it make you sleepy, Biff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were, when I was still over in Elm Grove, and when the bowling alley was still there, and we would go bowling and then go to Wakeham's after and get done, and I'd be about ready to fall asleep, and it'd be within about a half hour, and then I'd get up in the Friday morning, and there were Friday mornings. It was not pretty.
Yeah, I don't think it's just an old person's thing. You'd say alcohol makes me sleepy. I think a lot of us feel that way or felt that way. Let's see. Also, things that only old people say. Why is the music so loud in here? I don't say that because I think my hearing's starting to go a little bit. I know. You're all thinking, yeah, of course, Monroe, you're an old guy. So no, I don't. Music isn't too loud. Generally, it's not loud enough. I'm perpetually turning the TV up in our house. This is one I certainly do, Biff, you know this. Referring to people in their early 20s as kids. Now, it's not early 20s for me. It's just about everybody else. You know, maybe 20s, 30s, 40s. Those kids over there, I refer to them all as the kids, yeah. Things that only old people say. I can't go out to dinner. I have chicken in the fridge. I need to cook before it goes bad. Honest to God, we actually do that in our house. Now, I don't say that because my wife does the cooking, but, honey, what you want to, I'll say, you want to order out or go out someplace for dinner? No, can't do it. Got some hamburgers. Got to use them up tonight or they'll be bad. So, okay. That is definitely a Monroe household thing. And the number one thing that old people say, you know you're an old person if you say this, it's 8:30 at night. Yeah, it's really a little late to start a movie. And that's true, too. That's true, too. There comes a point in the evening, and honestly, now the daylight savings time is gone, and it's now daylight standard time, and it's dark earlier. For the second night in a row last night, just because of circumstances in the house, and Teddy wasn't here, and all kinds of things, I was in my jammies by 6. That's really an old person's thing. But yeah, by 8:30, no, let's not start another new movie. We'll watch another episode of Perry Mason. That's what we tend to do. So anyways, those are things that apparently old people say. You're officially old if you say them. Well, I knew I was officially old. I say almost all of them, not all of them. But Biffy, some of these probably you say. You know, like alcohol makes you sleepy. I think you're careful about caffeine late in the day, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, if I can't drink coffee like around dinner time because I won't be able to sleep.
And you're reaching the point, my friend, where I'll bet if you haven't done it yet, you're going to start to refer to people younger than you as kids, even though they may be young adults. You're reaching that point. It won't be long before you and I'll be talking, and you'll say, well, you know, there's some kids in my neighborhood. And I'll go, really? Like 6-year-olds? Well, no. I mean, they're parents, but you're getting close to that point. I feel pretty confident. All right, 8:16 here on the Watchdog Morning Show with 42 degrees at the airport. Coming up today at noon, Bill DeFabio is back. The Bill DeFabio Variety Show returns to the airwaves here on the Watchdog after a week's vacation. And Billy will be doing his usual Fall Football Friday preview program today, talking about the upcoming games this weekend, and also talking about well, talk about all the upcoming games this weekend, including the playoff picture. And then we have the Quaker Steak and Lube Friday afternoon walkthrough this afternoon from 3 to 5 here on the Watchdog, so be aware of that. I was just drifting off to sleep last night, and as I so often do, and this is really a sad thing about my life, as I so often do, right before I drift off to sleep, I'm skimming WVMetronews.com, and I came across a story, the headline, West Virginia judge accused of berating patrolman and trying to pull rank. And the headline caught my attention, and I went through, it was a long story, that can't be that long. I thought it was a typical, do you know who I am kind of story, right? You know, where somebody gets stopped by a cop, and we've seen this, I know examples of this, and somebody, an elected official or a sheriff gets caught by the cops, or in this case, a judge. Do you know who I am? And usually the answer is, yes, sir, I do. But this was a bizarre story. It went on and on and on. This guy didn't give up. And I got thinking, I'll bet McElhenney can tell me some more about that. So I invited Brad to join us here this morning to talk about this story. Brad, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Howard. I liked your introduction. I have a daily morning call with Hoppy Kercheval, and today he said, boy, you really got into that story, didn't you? And I said, well, I mean, it's not like this judge did one egregious thing. It's really the sum of everything that happened, and you kind of have to lay it out. So I appreciate your introduction explaining it that way.
When I saw the headline, and I thought, this is what I do at night. I see, something I might want to talk about. So I thought, I didn't read it. I just kind of glanced at it. I'm going to print the story out. I'll have it on the desk in the morning if I want to talk about it, read it some more. And then when it went to print, it kept printing. I said, my God, it's 12 pages long.
You can send me the bill for your ink cartridge. I'm sorry.
Then I went back and I read it, and I thought, my God, this was not your typical, do you know who I am kind of story. Just went on and on all night long, right?
Well, it was, do you know who I am, but 4 or 5 times to 4 or 5 people in 4 or 5 formats.
Now walk us through this story, but it begins with an ice cream cone.
Which should be a lovely evening, right? This is Judge Carter Williams, whose bench is really in Hardy County, but that circuit is also Hampshire and Pendleton. And there was a lovely Sunday night this past summer. Judge Williams goes out with his family for ice cream at a new parlor. And then they break into multiple vehicles, and he's going presumably home in his. And what this report indicates is he had previously misplaced his phone, and something drew his attention to it. It either rang or it was rattling around on the floorboards. Anyway, he noticed it, and he says he picked it up. And at that moment, he passes a cop, local cop, Moorfield police officer, a young black man, and the cop pulls him over.
The fact that it's a black man is relevant. There's a reason. There's a reason Brad mentioned that, because that's relevant as the story goes on.
It's one aspect of the story, yeah. So this kind of thing happens. I've been pulled over, and you have, and my go-to strategy is to be as polite as possible to the officer. I'm so sorry. I should not have been going 108. But
I know better. Yeah.
The judge, pushed back, and this is before the Judicial Investigation Commission, which is where you go if you're in trouble. And this judge is not just in trouble for sort of run-of-the-mill motor vehicle incidents. He's in trouble in this format for allegations that he abused the power of his office. So the first thing he does is he identifies himself as a judge to this officer who pulled him over. And then the report says became angry. All right, well, that happens. People have to blow off steam, no harm, no foul. But he refuses to give his license and registration initially, and then begins to push back on this officer, saying that the local Moorfield cops, he's seen them using their phones while on duty, their cell phones. And this particular officer says, well, yeah, but that's allowed if it's official business. We can call back to the office with our cell phones and this officer indicates that's likely what you're seeing. In addition, I mean, it's just a detail, but one of the things this officer discovers during the pullover is that the judge's driver's license had expired months earlier. But still, I mean, all this to this point is fairly standard.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's where it begins to break. While Officer Johnson goes back to his patrol car to run the license and registration, the judge goes over his head and calls first the lieutenant, the second in command with the local police department, Melody Burrows, who was off duty. And he says, all right, this is where you say it's notable that the officer is black.
Right.
The judge says, your boy pulled me over for being on my cell phone, and I wasn't on my cell phone.
Your boy.
Yeah. And that's not the only time he uses this phrase. And I guess, in fairness, he doesn't only use it about this particular officer. He uses it about the police chief. He uses it about the other officers, saying they're all a bunch of boys. But over the course of the night, that phrase sticks with him for some reason. And, you know, whether it's a race issue or not, keep in mind that this is a judge accused of using his power from the bench and his position in life as a judge, and he's referring to local officers
as boys,
regardless of color, as boys.
It's not a race issue, it's at least a respect issue.
It's an indication of where he thinks he stands, is the way I took it. So he's on the line now with the officer's superior. He's in the car waiting, and this patrolman is running the numbers, and he gets on the phone with the lieutenant. And the lieutenant, rightly or wrongly, says, all right, well, I'll take care of it. I'll call Officer Johnson. We won't give you a ticket. You know, I mean, that's probably not perfect. But
it happens.
Again, maybe these things happen. Well, then it gets ugly again, and Officer Johnson comes back, and the lieutenant is still on the line. And what she hears is the judge pressing, saying, you can write me a ticket or not. I don't care. I'll take it uptown, and we'll go to trial, buddy. That's fine with me, and I'll tell you what. Next time I see any of you on the phone, I'm stopping right there and calling the state police on the local cops.
So it becomes a bit of a threat.
Yeah. So the officer then hands back the registration and insurance, but not yet the expired license. And he is trying to tell the judge, it seemed to me as a favor or as a, hey, you probably ought to know, that the license is expired. But the judge grabs it out of his hand and takes off without the officer saying, all right, you can go, which is not, I don't think I would get that latitude. All right, so again, that's getting bad enough. But as you said, according to this report, the judge just does not let it go. He's already called.
So let's just walk this through. So he stopped for using his phone while driving, or allegedly, it turns out he was picking it up or whatever. But that's what he was stopped for, was the phone use. He gets, do you know who I am, kind of belligerent with the cop. The cop goes to run his plate. He has now called to his off-duty superior officer, who's trying to be nice and says, maybe we won't write you a ticket. Let me see what I can do about this. The guy's trying to tell him that his license is expired so he doesn't get in trouble again. He grabs the license, he goes away. And this evening has just barely begun.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reasonable thing, I think, is to go home to your family you just had ice cream with. And maybe you're frustrated, but have a little more ice cream. Instead, the judge, minutes later, calls the police chief himself and says, I just had words with one of your boys. So again, that phrase. And the police chief is off duty. He's spending the Sunday evening with his family. He doesn't like the judge's tone. The judge says he's tired of being disrespected. And the police chief says, well, if anybody's being disrespectful, it's you. And that causes the judge to hang up. He hangs up the call.
The chief.
Again, that is not the end of the evening. So the judge then calls the current chief's predecessor, a retired police chief, Steve Reckert, calls him at home, and Reckert says, look, I'm not on the force anymore. I don't know what I can do for you.
This is where I lose track, Brad. Why does he call the retired chief? What does he think that's going to do?
It doesn't go into the psychology here. I don't know if it's legitimately what the report says is the retired chief says, look, I don't have any sway anymore. I can't really do anything for you. And the judge says, well, I just need to vent. But in the course of that, he's venting about the current status of the local department. And Williams, the judge, tells the former chief that the Moorefield Police Department is comprised of a bunch of boys and that it is run by a boy, meaning the police chief. So again, then getting to the use of the office, which is at the center of this. At that point, the judge tells the retired chief that in the past he has let some Moorefield police departments go through, even though they probably shouldn't have, that they weren't high quality, that maybe the evidence was flimsy in some cases, and that he might change his position in future cases. So that's
another threat.
That's, again, when this goes beyond the realm of a traffic violation and into, Judge, how are you using your office? Again, that's not the end of it. The judge again calls the first lieutenant who was earlier trying to let him off the hook on the ticket, and he
was
again
also off duty.
Also off duty, and again the judge says he couldn't believe. He told, in retelling this, the lieutenant describes the judge telling her that my boy wouldn't take his word for it. He called the lieutenant again at midnight, and she didn't pick up. And she texted the next day and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, that call was a mistake." So he's now called 2 current and 1 retired police brass. At 10 o'clock, the judge, this is a small town, the judge drives to the home of the Moorefield mayor. The lights are all out except for the television. And while parked outside, he calls and says, "Hey, are you up? Can we talk?" And that instigates a 45-minute discussion. And Williams says he wants to file a complaint against the department, ask the mayor to look at it, and again describes the department as made up of, quote, young boys. The mayor tells the officer, or tells the judge that, all right, in the morning I'll look at this body cam video, which was maybe a piece I didn't relay. The initial stop was captured on body cam, so there's really no. I would like to look at it and have asked for it. I have not seen that body cam video, but it's a key part of the evidence in the initial stages of this case, along with people's recountings of what happened. So I mean that's the end of a long night of just taking issue with what should have been a routine traffic stop, running up the flagpole with, it seems like every important official in town. So the chief winds up going to the local prosecutor who doesn't quite know what to do. He goes to, I think, a mentor, a former judge, to say, well, what should I do? That former judge, a retired judge, says, well, you got to take it to the chief circuit judge in the district. And at that point, it goes to the Office of Disciplinary Counsel, kicks it into play. Judge Williams hears about all this and says, I would like to self-report. So that's where he goes with it. He calls and says, hey, can I self-report on myself? I got a little out of hand. To wrap it up, the actual traffic stop, he winds up settling and paying, but this all kicked into gear with this question of, through it all, the insinuations that he may see cases from the Moorefield Police Department differently from now on. The use of his rank to try to wriggle out of the ticket. Other tickets, he was not wearing his seatbelt and drove right through click it or ticket campaigns and got pulled over and let those officers know, well, I'm a judge, and he miraculously got out of the ticket. Those were some other instances, all raising the question about how he is treating, his sacred oath and the office of respect that the judiciary should command. So he is now going to be, he's in fairly serious trouble. I got to say, I got to admit to you and the listeners, I'm not totally clear on what penalties he may be subject to. But this is, it's now in the realm of the kind of discipline that judges face. And he's coming up on early next year, a February 24th, I think, hearing to try to determine if he truly did abuse the office. This filing indicates that there's probable cause that he did abuse the office, but he gets to defend himself and gets one more February 24th is the scheduling for a hearing before his peers about what went on here.
And as you said, this is more, I want the audience to understand, we recounted the one long night with the call to the off-duty lieutenant and the call to the former chief and the current chief and going to the mayor's house. That's all in one night, which is bizarre. But what has come to light is that this is not at all the first time he's tried to use his influence to get out of some form of traffic stop. Apparently, from the story that you've written, numerous instances going back perhaps as far back as 2019, where he did the same sort of, I call it the "do you know who I am" kind of approach. So multiple times has he tried to use his influence to get out of a ticket. So this is not just one night of bizarreness. This is multiple occasions of this judge allegedly abusing his authority one way or another.
There was one instance.
Go ahead.
There was one instance of the ones that you mentioned that I thought was revealing based on the officer's response. There was another click it or ticket detail, and the judge was pulled over, not wearing a seatbelt. I hate to say that's not a big deal, but it's fairly routine, the kind of thing that you or I might be stopped for.
Right.
But anyway, it was a state police trooper who pulled him over spring of 2021. The officer didn't realize who he had stopped, and the judge, in this case, didn't immediately say. But he hands over his license, and the trooper recognizes the name, and he says, well, I decided not to write the judge a ticket or a warning because, quote, he didn't feel the need to stir the hornet's nest for a minor violation. And then the trooper told the investigators who interviewed him about this incident, he said, I've got felony cases in front of him in circuit court that he rules on. Ultimately, I care more about those felonies. So, yeah, in the scheme of everything, keep the judge happy. In my cases, well, because, he has a lot of discretion on things. So, it's an example of stated or unstated that the trooper feels the pressure of the judge's influence and says, why give him a ticket and get him on the wrong side of him when he may rule certain ways in his court?
Now, the audience ought to think about a reality here, Brad, which I think you would concur with me. The fact that sometimes these things happen is just a reality. There are times when someone with some form of power or notoriety or whatever gets stopped by a cop on a minor violation, not wearing a seatbelt or texting or having the phone up and so on. And it happens because everybody tries to sort of get along. Okay, Your Honor, just go on your way. That's not unusual. You would agree with me on that, right? People may say it's not right, but it's not unusual, right?
Right. I would urge the listeners to not text and drive and wear that seatbelt, but it is not uncommon. And the average person, those are the kinds of things on a daily basis that people get pulled over for. So, but this guy doesn't just get just get out of a ticket here and there. Apparently, he's gotten out of a lot of them or gotten away with a lot of them. And he makes a big deal about it. And again, the night in question really goes to prove that point. Just take the ticket, for God's sake. That's my thought is, okay, if you're of that nature, do you know who I am? Okay. Yes, sir, I do know who you are. I really am sorry, sir, but you did commit a violation. Here's a ticket. And if you want to fight it, we can do that in court. And you go on. I see nothing in this story that indicates this, Brad, but was there any indication that the judge was under the influence or anything like that? Because
That just seems so bizarre. Multiple phone calls to multiple people, including driving to the mayor's house.
I mean, maybe high on his own supply, drinking his own Kool-Aid, but there is no indication that there's not a word of even a hint, no hint at all of inebriation or under the influence otherwise. Yeah, I don't know. It boggles the mind because, he would have been in much less trouble if he had either taken the ticket or the warning, and gone on with life. Go home to your family. Don't show up at the mayor's house trying to pull rank at 10 o'clock at night. I don't know if you saw it. The Attorney General in Michigan generated some controversy because I think it was the Michigan State football game. It was a noon game, and it sounds like she was, tailgating or otherwise doing some pre-gaming like everybody else, and overdid it. And it was, the talk of the state. And she came out on her own Facebook page over the weekend, or within the last few days, and I think posted a picture of herself not looking her best. And just owned up to it. Just said, I disappointed myself and everybody else. I should not have done that. Absolutely owned up to it. And, it's not, again, the perfect situation, but that's the kind of decision you can make as a public official, to just say, I'm a citizen like the rest of you, and it is even more important for me, with the public trust bestowed upon me, to follow the law. I don't know that the AG wasn't following the law, but to live up to the responsibilities and appearances of my office. And
Brad, you and I have both been in this game long enough, though, to know that is always the best response. I mean, unless you're talking about a felony of some sort where you've got to really worry about jail time or something, the best response is always just to own up to it and just, man, did I screw up? Take your hits and move on. That's always the best response.
Yeah, I would agree with you, although the more I know about the times we're living in, the more confused I am about what the best response really is. But over the course of my life, that what you just said would have been true. But the last few years may have changed the course of action that is advised. Sometimes position and public authority can go to people's heads. The other incidents of being pulled over in this judge's case seem to have played a role in the way he reacted on this particular night. He was aware, obviously, that he'd been pulled over before, but really had not paid any penalty. Just, became very irate, annoyed, frustrated that here he was being pulled over again, and appeared to take it personally too. In the moment, I would have advised him otherwise, but he chose the actions he chose.
Real quick, I need to move, but what put you onto this? Somebody call you, or?
Well, as we talked earlier this week, I was off last week and got a call about it, and the call said that the report should be available at the Supreme Court, which I was grateful for. It's good when people tell us about interesting, worthy stories, but I didn't act on it in the moment because I was off. And so, in the course of an otherwise busy week, I finally circled back and I called the Supreme Court and asked if they could send me this report, and I finally got it and had an opening to finally dive in and take a look at it.
It is an interesting story. There's part of me that chuckles at it, and there's part of me that gets fearful at it, that this is the way some folks will act. And he has a hearing February, did you say? February 24th, something like that?
Yeah, mark your calendar, February 24th.
Yeah, so we'll have more information on it then. Brad, I thank you for helping us out this morning. It was a quick call to you, and I appreciate you getting back with me so fast, because again, when I first began to delve into it, I didn't have the sense of how deep this story went, and I'm glad you were able to flesh it out for us, as you so often do so well, sir.
Hey, thanks, Howard. I appreciate it. And if anybody has a breakfast biscuit for Biff, I don't want to fail in my duty to ask for breakfast to be delivered.
Gotcha. We'll talk again soon. Have a good weekend. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. All right,
Thanks,
Brad
Howard.
McElhenney, the registered lobbyist for Brad Leonard's food in breakfast menu. But that's a weird story, Biff. Just a strange story. You know, a guy gets stopped for, he's eating an ice cream cone. While he's doing that, he reaches for his phone. Cop sees it. Cop stops him, going to write him a ticket for, and texting while driving or talking on the phone while driving or whatever. Guy gets belligerent. That's not unusual. Do you know who I am? Kind of thing. Then he calls his guy's supervisor, then an off-duty supervisor, then calls the police chief, then the former police chief, and then drives to the mayor's house. Holy crap. Something.
Yeah, there's a line, and he definitely crossed it for sure.
Oh, he went over the line halfway down the football field. I mean, jeez.
Did you happen to notice too the place that Brad said where it took place? Where the police never Moorfield.
Yeah, Moorfield. That's
Who, oh, by the way, is coming up here tomorrow afternoon to play a football game.
That's right. I didn't catch that connection. You're right. Exactly right. All right. High Valley headlines are coming up next. Let me add a news story to what Stephen's going to have because it's breaking news now. Crews are at a house fire near the intersection of Route 7 and 250 in Bridgeport. That's right by right by Wilson Furniture there. The home, it was a home. Responders tell 7 News the home was vacant, no injuries reported. A portion of the house seems to have burned down. Fire crews are extinguishing the flames. Bob will have more on that for us coming up a little bit later on this morning. But there was a house fire at the corner of Route 250 and Route 7 in Bridgeport this morning. Here's some more headlines from our friends at the Big 7.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your...
Biff, I'll try to get some entertainment and comedy in here in this segment. Thank you.
Start the Backyard Brawl. The game was canceled a year ago due to COVID, but tonight they will meet for the 188th time in this series, which began back in the 1903-04 season. West Virginia has dominated of late. The Mountaineers have won 4 in a row, and a victory this evening would give West Virginia its 100th career win over the Panthers. This West Virginia winning streak right now is the longest since the Mountaineers won 4 in a row back in 1976 through 77 season. That's when current head coach Bob Huggins was playing for the Mountaineers, and there is no other team that West Virginia has faced more than Pitt. Now, tonight's game will be the 4th meeting over the last 5 years. The two teams met at least once every year from 1917 through 2011. Now, let's face it, Pitt has fallen on hard times. They lost their season opener earlier this week to the Citadel in convincing fashion. And consider this, from 2001 through 2016, Pitt did not have a losing season. In fact, they averaged 26 wins per year. But since 2016, Pitt has had 0 winning seasons, and they've averaged 13 wins. West Virginia will try to add to their losing streak tonight. Tip-off, 8:30. Our pregame coverage on the Mountaineer Sports Network will begin at 7:30. That is today's Mountaineer Report. It's brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Toyota's full lineup of 4-wheel and all-wheel drive vehicles combine our legendary reliability with the safety and handling necessary to take on any terrain, element, or adventure that comes your way. And with 12 available models, including Camry, Venza, and the all-new Corolla Cross, there's a style for everyone. Visit buyatoyota.com for the latest offers and to find a dealer near you. Toyota, your 4-wheel and all-wheel drive specialists. Let's go places.
Friday nights in the fall are reserved for high school football, and the 20-year tradition continues on Metro News. It's Summit Community Bank High School Game Night with Fred Persinger and Dave Jekyllin. Celebrating 20 years of bringing you up-to-the-minute scores, conference standings, player and coach interviews, and more. Tune in all season long to follow your favorite school. Friday nights from 9:30 to midnight. Summit Community Bank High School Game Night on this Metro News station.
The Watchdog prides itself in being involved in our community, and we want to hear from you. Does your organization have an event that you would like promoted on the radio? Please send us the details via our website, watchdognetwork.com. Just click on our contact page and fill the information. Live, local, and here for our community. Share your events with the Watchdog.
Live and local for the Ohio Valley. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
Still 42 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 41 here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 41 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. It's 8:51, 9 before the hour. McCabe and I, the Ohio Valley Roundtable, kicking around some of the news of the week here in the Ohio Valley and statewide, coming up after the 9 o'clock news break. Right now, why don't we check some entertainment news for you? Simon Helberg played Howard Wolowitz on The Big Bang Theory, the engineering companion to Howard and the gang, to Sheldon and the gang. Apparently, Helberg is going to reprise his role as Howard Wolowitz in the November 18th episode of Young Sheldon. Young Sheldon, of course, the story of Sheldon Cooper as a child growing up. Wolowitz will help Jim Parsons, who narrates the show. Jim Parsons played the older Sheldon, So he narrates the show about his younger self, and Howard Wolowitz will join him on November 18th, providing a voiceover as young Sheldon gets into an engineering class. And if you're an old fan of the Big Bang Theory, you know that Sheldon despises engineers. So look for that. That should be kind of interesting. Another Big Bang Theory alum, Mayim Bialik, will host the Jeopardy Professors Tournament next month. 15 professors will compete for a $100,000 grand prize and a spot in the upcoming Tournament of Champions. The tournament begins on Monday, December 6th, and runs until Friday, December 17th. I think this will be one. Remember when Mayim Bialik was brought on board, she was going to be handling special event type shows. This apparently is one of those. Of course, that was when the previous producer was going to be the primary host. He's gone. I think Ken Jennings is back now, or is going to be back in the near future. Mayim Bialik has finished up her first run as host. They're splitting the hosting jobs. But anyway, she's going to be doing this Professors Tournament next month. Let's see what the gossip is around the celebrity tabloids today.
It's your salacious celebrity scoop. Lauren Moraski dishes out this week's tabloid news.
The tabloids are out, and here's what you need to know. In Touch magazine claims that Kanye West is losing it over Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson's recent romantic escapades. An insider says that Kanye is friendly with Pete and, in a way, feels stabbed in the back. Either way, it seems that Kim is very much enjoying her time with Pete, and insiders say he makes her laugh. OK Magazine claims that tension is building between Carrie Underwood and her longtime husband Mike Fisher, with sources saying that they're getting on each other's last nerves. No real information here, and the two do seem happy as can be on Instagram, at least for now. In another suspicious story, Life and Style says Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are fighting over their different parenting styles, making day-to-day decisions, and who is carrying the most weight at home. And finally, OK Magazine says Adele is eyeing a Las Vegas residency where she'll reportedly make $1 million a night. While all this is just speculation, one thing you can count on is a new Adele album dropping November 19th, her first in 6 years. That's your salacious celebrity scoop. We'll catch you next week after we dig through the tabloid trash.
Got some comedy coming up in a minute, but first, one final bit of entertainment from our friends at ABC.
ABC Entertainment News.
New to watch this weekend in Red Notice.
I want you to help me catch the most wanted art thief in the world.
Dwayne Johnson is an FBI agent on the hunt for thieves, played by Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot, in an action film that at one time was the most expensive ever made for Netflix. A little quieter.
Your buddy from Belfast.
The movie Belfast in theaters is a semi-autobiographical film about director Kenneth Branagh's early years. Home Sweet Home Alone.
Mom? Dad?
Is a new entry in the Home Alone universe on Disney Plus, and The Shrink Next Door on Apple TV Plus.
I'm gonna give you a hug. I'm a hugger.
Is a true story dramedy starring Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd. Today's the day a judge could end the conservatorship of Britney Spears. A hearing in the case is scheduled for this afternoon in Los Angeles. Spears and her father both filed motions to terminate it. Now it's up to the judge to sign off, or not. And Ryan Gosling and Anne Hathaway haven't shared the screen together, but they do share a birthday today. She's 39. He's 41. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
It's 8:55, 5 before the hour. That's the morning entertainment report for this Friday. Always like to bring you the Friday funnies. A little bit of stand-up comedy here for you. Two fairly well-known stand-up comedians, Sebastian Maniscalco and Jim Gaffigan, both are taking a look at something that's getting more and more expensive to do, actually, well, with the inflation and so on. They both take a look at grocery shopping.
Grocery store, that's always a problem, right? Customer service, they gave up. The grocery store gave up on us. They put in self-express checkout links. They basically said, you know what? You do it. Why am I working at the grocery store now? Do you ever look over there? Nobody knows what's going on. It's a bundle of confusion. Right? There's always a guy sitting there with like some artichokes going, We weren't proper. properly trained on this machine. Those people go through a 3-week training on this computer, and we're just jumping in on it.
I love going to the grocery store. It's like a museum of food I've eaten. Ah, the work of Frito-Lay. A lovely exhibit. Peanut butter and jelly in the same jar. A masterpiece. What is this, double stuffed Oreos? How abstract. I do feel uncomfortable when they're bagging my groceries, though. Talk about feeling lazy. Say, hey, thanks for putting my groceries in my bag. I could help, but I'll just watch. Yeah, I'm exhausted from picking that out. You want to come home and unpack them for me? I'm looking for a friend. When did we have to become members of all these grocery stores? Are you a member of our secret club? I'm just getting the hot dogs. That'll be $8,000. Or you can join our club. I can't come to a lot of meetings.
All of that is true. The self-checkout stuff. Do you ever use self-checkout, Biffy?
Me personally, no. I go to the people.
Yeah, I mean, I literally will leave my basket of stuff and just walk away. I'm not going through. When they first put self-checkout in, I can't. And I wasn't old then. I was younger then. I can't make it work. To hell with that. Plus, somebody there to do the work for me. And isn't that what they're getting paid for? Maybe not a lot, but isn't that what they're getting paid for? All right, just about 9 o'clock here on the Watchdog Morning Show, wrapping up the week as we always do in the next hour on a Friday. It is John McCabe, newspaper editor McCabe, and I will kick around some of these stories around the Ohio Valley this week, maybe some of the statewide stories as well. May take a look at some of the criticism Dave McKinley is getting over his vote on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And who knows what else John and I will get into. So it's the Friday Roundtable coming up in the next hour of the show. And Bob Westphal will bring us up to speed on all the news of the day and what they're working on today from the Big Seven at the tail end before we turn things over to Mr. Kirchhoff. I'll turn things over to ABC right now. It's 9 o'clock, ABC News Time on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
I'm Brian Clark.
All right, I'm getting more coffee. I'll be back, Biff.